Dave Talks Comics, Episode 77, Heroes Con 2015, Part 1. Welcome to Dave Talks Comics, a program on the subjects of comic books and cartoons, and comic book conventions. I talk about comics I have read and cartoons I have watched, and comic book conventions I have gone to. I talk from my notes. I don't go panel by panel or scene by scene. I try to do more than just summarize the stories. This program is not spoiler-free. I try not to spoil everything, but in the process of talking about these comics and cartoons, I will probably spoil them in some way. Okay, that probably doesn't apply for the most part for this episode. In fact, I'm sure it doesn't apply for this episode. I'm back from Heroes Con 2015 in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have recorded enough material for, I believe, 5 episodes of Dave Talks Comics. Basically, each episode will cover a separate day. It will include both my experiences on the road to Heroes Con and the road home, as well as my experiences at the show itself. In addition to that material, I also have recordings. I recorded 3 panels that I went to: the Jansen Fife panel, the horror panel, and the color influences panel. And I hope to release all of those episodes very soon after this first Heroes Con 2015 episode. I'm about to take off on my Heroes Con road trip. It's Thursday, June 18th, 2015. I think I've got everything. I've got 3 bags, but 2 of them aren't all that, well, at least one of them isn't all that full. I feel like I'm traveling lighter than I usually do. I got plenty of water. Probably won't be there till this evening sometime. It's about an 8-hour drive, including stops. I'm taking a slightly different route this year. I think I'm going to go out 66 to 81, then take 81 south to 77, then 77 goes right into Charlotte. So, as usual, I figured the slowest portion of the drive is going to be this first portion, leaving the DC area. So even though it's only about 50 miles to my first stop, it'll probably take me over an hour to get there. And that and the fact that it's rush hour right now. It's a little after 8 o'clock, which is later than I left last year. I wanted to leave earlier, but I just couldn't get myself up and going any earlier. And that may be in part because I was a little sick the last few days. I come down with something. First it was food poisoning, and then I don't know what it was. I think it had something to do with the air conditioning at the office, but I had a bit of a fever, but took some Advil, and I'm feeling okay right now. Not great, but I'm feeling pretty good. So hopefully this won't flare up again, and I'll be okay. And I'm bringing plenty of layers to wear, especially when I go into those panel rooms at Heroes Con, because I know at least from last year and even prior years, it can get pretty cool, especially if the room isn't full. It can get pretty cool in those rooms as compared to, like, say, the showroom floor. So I'm about a week behind in my podcast listening. Right now I'm listening to Girl on Guy, Aisha Tyler's podcast with, last week's guest was Allison Rosen. And she was just on Slumber Party podcast. Slumber Parties with Allie Ward and Georgia Hardstark, something like that. And it's kind of interesting. I think I mentioned something like this when I was on my trip to Appleseed. It's kind of interesting to listen, especially I think more so with the conversation podcasts, because they can go in different places with the same guest. Sometimes you get a completely different conversation, unless the guest is just like focused primarily on the latest thing they're doing or the highlights of their career or something like that, and the host isn't forward enough to actually try to move the conversation in a different direction. But so it'll be interesting to see how different this one is from the one, because it was just a couple days before this one came out that I'm going on and on. I should get on the road, and I've got about 400 miles to go and probably about 8 hours until I get to Charlotte. So my first stop is going to be in Haymarket, Virginia at a Sheetz. I'm at my first road rest stop in Haymarket, Virginia, which is part of the greater DC area. It's driven about 45 miles, 46 miles. Took me about a little over an hour to get here. Traffic wasn't too bad. I hit a few choke points, but nothing monumentally bad. Still listening to Girl on Guy. It's about a 2-hour program, and so far it's nothing like the other conversation. It's Allison Rosen's the guest, and she was also on Slumber Party, but it's a completely different conversation. So, let's see. So my next stop is Mount Jackson, I think. It's another Sheetz in Mount Jackson, Virginia. I'm feeling fine. I don't know. I'm wondering if it's the Advil I took last night for my headache and the fever. But normally my back is a little sore at this point, but it's not. And so I'm thinking it must be the Advil from last night. But I mean, I got out of the car, just stretched, walked around a bit, didn't feel the need to use the bathroom. I've been drinking water, but not too hard. So I don't know. I don't have a whole lot else to report. I'm looking forward to Heroes Con. I've got 2 commissions I'm picking up, as opposed to 6, which I had last year. I'm glad that I'm going, because honestly, I was feeling real crappy yesterday morning. I was even thinking about canceling the trip. That's how bad I was feeling. I started to feel better over the course of the day, and I just took it easy. I didn't even walk to the metro in the morning, which is what I usually do, or bicycle at all this week because of the way I felt. But I'm feeling a lot better, and hopefully I'll stay feeling better, and hopefully everything will go good. Now, I'm planning on driving quite a ways before I stop for a bite to eat like 2/3 of the way through this trip, which means it'll probably be 2 or 3 in the afternoon. But I got snack foods in the car, and I got water to keep me going. So like I said, the next stop, I think it's Mount Jackson, Virginia, which is like another 70 miles. And after that, it's Lexington, Virginia, and then Christiansburg, Virginia, and that's where I'm planning on stopping for lunch. So I think I'm going to get back on the road. Traffic here is a little heavy around Haymarket. This is right after 66 narrows down to 2 lanes, and I think I might be going off in a direction which has absolutely nothing to do with comic books. And I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I talked about Samurai Jack and Tarzan on the last podcast. I've actually been reading some of the comic books that I bought at last year's Heroes Con. Small indie type stuff recently. I read one called Pigs, which was the first in a mini-series, I think. And I don't know if I'm going to read any more of it. I mean, it was decent. The artwork was a little... The sequential art was good, but the way they would draw the people seemed a little weird. I mean, like, people's bodies don't do that. And that's not always a problem, but I don't know, just something about it threw me off. So, that was one book I read. And what else did I read? I read one called Varmints. And the creator on that is Andy Hirsch, and he does it all, whereas the pigs one was a collaborative thing. Oh, and then there was another one called Doberman, which was kind of like, from what I understand, because I haven't read it, but it was kind of like Batman 66. Except for the instead of Batman, it's Doberman, and his sidekick's name is Beagle. And I thought it was okay. It wasn't anything that really blew me away, or really inspired me to want to pick up more issues. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't really my thing. I don't know. So I think I'm going to cut it off there for now. I've been here about 6.5 minutes. I think I'm ready to move on. Maybe I'll be more ready for a break at the next stop, and maybe by then I'll be listening to something else too. Still on my way to Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am now in Mount Jackson, Virginia at another Sheetz gas station. This one's pretty big. They've actually got a drive-through window. I don't know if I'd seen that before at a Sheetz. This is just off of 81, I-81. I've been on 81, I think it was 27 miles since I got off of 66, and I got a ways to go on 81 till I get to 77. At least, I think 2 more stops that I'm going to be making along 81. So far, so good. It's getting warm out here. The sun wasn't out. It was overcast when I left DC, and it wasn't cold, but it wasn't real hot. Now it's starting to get warm and kind of muggy, and I'm opening the window now and then because I don't have air conditioning in my car, and roll it down for a couple minutes, roll it back up, and then eventually I roll it down again. And so far so good. Nothing really to say about the trip. I finished off that podcast, the Girl on Guy podcast, just about 10 minutes ago, and I'm starting to listen to The Art of Wrestling, Colt Cabana show. I think this is a live episode from WrestleCon or something like that. I think it's the second. It's the second one, I think, of just 2 that he did at WrestleCon. But like I said, I'm just getting into that. I think it's only about an hour long. I don't think it's... That Girl on Guy was like 2 hours long. Let's see, it is an hour and 5 minutes. Yeah, that's usually about what his shows are. And I've got a lot of conversation podcasts and other kinds, not a whole lot of comic book themed podcasts. I do have iFanboy and Crankcast. I got a lot of non-comic book themed stuff here. Yeah, so it's getting warm. I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm really not hungry yet, so I haven't felt the need to stop and get any food. Maybe I can make it to Christiansburg without any problems. I'm 114 miles in. I've been on the road for, well, counting stops, about 2 hours and 24 minutes right now. And I think I'm going to get back on the road now. I can't think of anything else to report. I doubt I'm going to be going out tonight, do anything really big. You know, I usually end up recording podcasts on the nights after the show, during the show, like I did at Appleseed this year, like I did at Heroes Con last year. There are events that happen in the evening. I did go to the art auction a few years ago. I wasn't that wowed by it. I mean, I wasn't going to bid. I didn't feel like spending a few $100s on a piece of art, even though some of them were really nice. I just didn't feel like spending that kind of money. About the only thing I might do is go over to the auction before the bidding begins, just to look through all the pieces. But And they do have subsequent auctions, because not everything gets auctioned off during the big auction on Saturday night. And so then they have auctions on Sunday afternoon, like at noon, 1 and 2, or 1, 2, and 3, or something like that. Because I went to one of those last year, but I didn't bid on anything or buy anything. So, but there's lots of programming, lots of stuff. Oh, they're showing the movie of that comic book that I bought at SPX a few years ago, Bee Sting. I might go to that. That's tomorrow. And, yeah, there's all kinds of panels that look good. Of course, Saturday is the day that's loaded with panels that looks good. There's some good ones on Friday, some good ones on Sunday, but Saturday is just loaded with panels. So I'm really looking forward to the show, and I think I'm going to get back on the road. My next stop is going to be another Sheets, this time in Lexington, Virginia. And I think that's about 80 miles away, 80 to 90 miles from here. But I don't anticipate it should take me all that long to get there. Or it shouldn't be any major slowdowns, choke points, anything like that. I've moved a little further down I-81. I'm now in Lexington, Virginia. Kind of took a weird turn and got onto the business road. You know how the highways split, and you got the business, you got the highway road, and I ended up going right past VMI, and took probably an extra 5-7 minutes getting here because of that. But let's see, I've been on the road for almost 4 hours now, 3 hours and 55 minutes, including this stop so far. My next stop is going to be Christiansburg. I believe it's going to be Christiansburg, Virginia. And that's where I'm going to have lunch. It'll probably be about 1:30 by the time I get there. Let's see, it is now... It is now about 10 after 12, 10 after noon. Yeah, probably about 1:30, maybe 1:45 by the time I get there. Assuming I don't have any traffic, hopefully. I'm not dying of hunger, but I'm starting to get a little hungry. It's definitely warm out here. It is definitely warm out here. I'm sweating quite a bit. It's not unbearably warm. It's just warm and humid. I've got plenty of water. I've started to dig into the cold water, and I've got plenty of that, and pretzels and raisins and almonds, and I've just realized I forgot to bring my snack bars that I like to eat at the show instead of having lunch. But I think I'm going to have to get something to eat at the show this year. I just think it's, go to, was it Einstein Bagels or something like that they have in the convention center, and just get one of those little sandwiches or something. Or maybe find some place just within a couple of blocks of the convention center to grab a bite to eat. Just a sandwich or something. Nothing fancy. So far so good. I'm at about 200 miles exactly right now. 201. So I'm about halfway there, I believe. And doing good time-wise, I think. Let's see. It's warm. Oh, I'm listening to Science Friday now. I finished off Art of Wrestling, which it was one of those live episodes. Usually Art of Wrestling is like a one-on-one interview with Colt Cabana and another wrestler. But because it's a live episode, he does it kind of like a live WTF or any of those other live conversation type shows where he has it in front of an audience and he has a number of people come up. So each one only gets like 10 or 15 minutes. And honestly, I don't know most of these. I don't watch wrestling. So I don't know most of these. Some of these names sound familiar. I think they've been on the show before. I've been listening to the show for at least a couple years now. Since somewhere around episode 140, 130, something like that. And he's up to, I'm not sure what he's up to at this point. I think he's well over 200 though. So I don't need gas. I don't think I'm going to I'll probably get gas in, I don't know where I'll get gas. I might get gas at the next stop, or I might get it at the stop after that. I think 2 more stops before I get to Charlotte. I'm going to stop in Christiansburg for lunch, and then I'm going to stop in Elkins, North Carolina, and then Charlotte. And Elkins is on 77. So I'm getting a little hungry, but I think I'm going to wait until I get to Christiansburg before I grab anything to eat. I got pretzels here and other stuff. So I'm off. I am still on my way to Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. Just finished eating lunch at the Panera in Christiansburg, Virginia. Had a Napa almond chicken salad sandwich, which was okay, not the best I've had. The pieces of chicken were kind of teensy and, I don't know, not the best meal I've ever had at a Panera. It's really warm out here. Like I said, I've been drinking a lot of water. Getting ready to get back on the road. My next stop is going to be Elkins, North Carolina. And that's about probably a good hour and a half drive. It's a little over 90 miles from here. Didn't really have any mishaps on the drive from Lexington. It's a little more mountainous here than it was prior to this, coming down 81. Not huge mountains, but a little more mountainous. You know, you're cutting between some peaks, and reminds me a little more of some of the drives up to Pennsylvania that I've done, to northern Pennsylvania. Let's see, I was looking at the Facebook feed, or not Facebook, the Twitter tweets on people who were going to Heroes Con and stuff like that, and it sounds good. I don't feel like taking the time to tweet anything out right now. Let's see, what am I listening? I'm in the middle of listening to WTF. I finished listening to Science Friday, and I think those are the only 2 things I've been listening to since Lexington. Mark's interviewing Mike Watt? Something like that. He's a musician whose name I do not recognize, but that's not too surprising. Yeah, Mike Watt. Let's see. I'm not sure what I'm going to listen to next. Maybe the second hour of Science Friday, or maybe the Crankcast. Although when I roll the window down, it gets a little hard to hear sometimes, so unless the recording equipment's real good. And Crankcast, I don't think they've got the best of recording equipment, but sometimes it'd be hard to hear unless you're listening real closely. I got plenty of other stuff to listen to. So let's see. It is been on the road for about 5 hours and 45 minutes. Let's see, an hour and a half would put me at 7 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah, it's going to take me at least 8 hours to get there. Maybe more like 8.5. And that should be a much shorter. I've been here a little over a half hour now. It'll be a quick stop, no more than 10 minutes in Elkins, and then that's the last stop before Charlotte. And I'm not sure how far it is from there to Charlotte, but I guess I'll find out next time. So far so good on taking 81. I mean, it hasn't been bad at all. And I feel prepared. My headache isn't completely gone, but I'm feeling pretty good. That food certainly helped. So, yeah, I think that'll about do it. I think I'm going to get back on the road, the hot road, to Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. Still on the road to Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is still Thursday, June 18th, 2015. And I'm now in Elkin, North Carolina. I'm at another Sheetz. I finally had to put gas in the car. I definitely couldn't have made it the rest of the way to Charlotte without it. I only had probably a half a gallon of gas left in the tank when I filled up. And I've got about 80 miles to go. Been here a little longer than I anticipated, but I went in to use facilities. I bought a Twix ice cream bar, ate that, and now I'm getting ready to take off. The drive from Lexington was pretty uneventful, with the exception of about a 5-10 minute period where it was raining really hard. But it passed. I mean, we went into it and we came out of it. The traffic on 77. This was after I'd gotten onto 77. This was like just before, in the last like 5 miles before leaving Virginia and crossing into North Carolina on 77. I finished up the episode of WTF with Mike Watt. I listened to all of the second hour of Science Friday, and now I've started to listen to the JV Club. The guest on the JV Club this time is Mark Evan Jackson. I'm not sure exactly who that is, though. Yeah, I don't always know who these people are, but I still listen to the interviews because I like the job that the podcaster usually does. It's still hot out here. It's part of the reason why I bought the ice cream bar. I'm still drinking water. I'm making decent time. I think this is going to be more than 400 miles going this way, because I'm already at 373 and I've got 80 miles to go. So, yeah, it's probably going to be closer to 450 by the time I get there. Yeah. And it'll probably be about 9 hours, be my guess. So I'll probably be there by 5:15, something like that. I don't think I'm going to try and pick up my pass tonight like I did last year. I think I'll just go out and get something to eat, maybe chill, take a nap. This is nowhere near as exhausting as driving to Indiana. Nowhere near as exhausting. Of course, it's about 4 hours less. So, so I think that's about it. I think I just want to pour myself some more cold water from one of my coolers, and I've already eaten my ice cream bar, and I've already put gas in the car, so I think that's about it. I think I'm ready to go. Next stop is the hotel in Charlotte, North Carolina. Testing. I'm in Charlotte for Heroes Con. It's Friday morning. I got to the hotel, which is where I'm recording this from, at about 6 o'clock last night. For the most part, the drive went okay. It wasn't too bad, but I hit some really heavy traffic as I started to get within about 25 miles of Charlotte. And for about 15-20 miles, it just was crazy. I mean, it took us like almost an hour to make those 15 or 20 miles. So the first 50 miles was no problem. I had about 80 miles to go, and then all of a sudden it just came to a grinding halt, and it was just very, very slow at first. And bit by bit it started to pick up. And eventually it opened up until I got very close to the hotel. I was still on 77. And then at that point it slowed down again, but it wasn't quite as bad as before. So it took me 2 hours to get from Elkin to Charlotte, where I thought it would be like an hour and a half, or maybe even an hour and 15 minutes. It was still very hot. I didn't see it, there was no more rain. It's definitely been overcast. There've been some dark clouds, but I don't know if it's rained at all. I'm not sure. The hotel's pretty nice. They upgraded me from a double or two double beds, or two, whatever it is, a double to a room with a king-size bed. Although one downside to this room is that the air conditioner doesn't work correctly. It works, but it's kind of like something from another era because I can't adjust the temperature at all. All I can do is turn it on or turn it off, and it looks like it's stuck in the most cool position. I'm not certain because the knobs are missing that I would use to adjust the fan and adjust the temperature. So about the only thing I can do is shut it off. So at first I couldn't figure out how to do that because I have to like trip the breaker or something like that, so, as if I was going to unplug it. So it was really cold in here at first. But other than that, no problem. Oh yeah, the toilet bowl is cracked. As long as it doesn't break while I'm here, I'm okay with that. I don't have any plans to jump up and down on it and try to break it. So, or for any other reason to jump up and down on the toilet bowl. Let's see. So this is near to the last place I stayed. It's further from the Link station, which is the light rail here in Charlotte, than the last place. The last place was like right across the street from the Link station, and I thought about staying there, but the price had been jacked up by maybe 20% from last year. I wasn't that crazy about it either, but I can drive over there to the Link station. There is a parking lot, and I think it's free to park there. It's a park and ride lot, which in DC you wouldn't find that. You'd have to pay for that. It's, at least on a weekday you would. On the weekend it would be free, but today is a Friday. So last night I went out to dinner. I went to I considered going to a number of different places, including some places that I had been to on previous visits to Charlotte, some of which were not close to here. I ended up going to one that I had not been to before, a Vietnamese restaurant called Doan, D-O-A-N, which was very good, which was excellent food. I took a chance and decided to try and pick things that I'd had at other Vietnamese places, and I kind of put. So I had the summer rolls. I had a shrimp and pork noodle soup, which is not the same as pho, or pho, or however you pronounce it. It's different from that. I don't think it's a beef broth. I don't really know. I really haven't looked into it, but it's always listed separately. So they did have it, and they had quite a few different things. I think different kinds of Vietnamese cuisine. They had the pho. They had, like rice dishes and vermicelli dishes and various kinds of things. But I decided to have this, and then they also had the jackfruit drink. They never give it a name. They always just say jackfruit, and it's kind of like a smoothie. But it's very good. My only regret with that is that I got it with the meal, and I didn't drink it fast enough, and so it was melting. And so I actually still have a little bit of it left over here at the hotel room. I've got a refrigerator here in the hotel, so I put it in there. But it's all liquid at this point. It's not, it's not smoothie. It's not icy. But all three of those things were excellent, and I would definitely go back there again. The soup was excellent. They brought there was some hot pepper to go with it. There was the bean sprouts, a slice of lime, and yeah, it was all very good. It was just what I needed because I'd had a very low-grade headache since, all day, basically. Well, for the last few days, I've been dealing with some sort of at first it was a stomach thing, and lately it's been a head thing, and I think it has to do with dealing with air conditioning, because I don't have air conditioning I don't run the air conditioning in my apartment very often. I don't like dealing with these huge disparities in temperature, and the air conditioning at the office is just too cold for me, and so I've started to wear a jacket at work because it's just... I went home feeling sick on Tuesday night, and because I felt better on Tuesday morning after I'd felt sick to my stomach on Tuesday night, but then by Tuesday, by the time I left work on Tuesday, I had a headache, and I think it was the air conditioning. So Wednesday, I wore my jacket most of the day. It was just like a windbreaker because, I needed to stay warm. And I'm wearing, long pants and a long sleeve shirt and a t-shirt underneath that. And it's not like I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt just. So I had a headache last night, but after I got back from the restaurant, first off I blew my nose quite a bit, which was what I was hoping would happen from the hot peppers that I added to the soup, and I took a nap. I woke up. I had a little bit of trouble sleeping during the night, but after I took this nap, when I got back from the restaurant, I was feeling much better. And the headache was mostly gone. The pressure in my head, my sinuses was mostly gone. And I'm feeling much better now. I turned off the air conditioner when I got back from the restaurant. I turned it on again in the middle of the night because it was getting a little too warm in the room. And then I turned it off again maybe 4, 5 in the morning, something like that, because it was getting too cold again. So everything's looking good. I'm more or less, I've just got a few things to throw in my bag, and then I think I'm going to take off for the show. The show begins at 11. I think because I bought a 3-day pass, I get in a half hour early, but I still have to pick up my pass. I'm not sure how early I can pick that up. I think at 9 o'clock, but I'm not certain. And I remember from last year and years before that, there's usually a long line. I know I won't be anywhere near the front of the line, but I want to make a stop. I decided to have a bite to eat here at the hotel, which was, okay. They have bagels, but they're not really bagels. They're just rolls with holes. In other words, they don't taste like a bagel should taste. The consistency isn't right. They're shaped like a bagel. That's about it. And they're bread. But there is a bagel place that I want to stop at. So I think I'm going to drive over to the link station. I'm going to take the train up 4 stops, get off, go to this bagel place, get a bagel, maybe get a sandwich bagel as well for later, and then I'll get back on the train and take it the rest of the way into downtown Charlotte and go to the convention center, pick up my badge, and go have fun. So I think that's about it. I guess I could mention that I, was listening to Kermode and Mayo, the BBC film review program, last night. Well, I was listening to it on the way in, and then I was listening to it last night and actually fell asleep listening to it last night. Trying to remember what I was listening to before that. I know I listened to the rest of Science Friday, and I know I mentioned Art of Wrestling already, and I think I mentioned the JV Club. Yeah, I think that's about it. Anyway, so that's about it. Hopefully I'll be recording something tonight, and hopefully I'll have lots of fun today. I'm definitely in a much better mood. I'm taking layers with me for the panel rooms because I know they're going to be cold, so I'm going to have my jacket with me and a flannel shirt. I think that's about it for now. That's it for episode 77 of Dave Talks Comics. Dave Talks Comics can be found on the web at davetalkscomics.com. On Twitter, at Dave Talks Comics. Email can be sent to davetalkscomics@gmail.com. Next time on Dave Talks Comics, I will be talking about Day 1 of HeroesCon 2015. I'm Dave. Thank you for listening. okay. No, not okay.